Hello there, I'm Scotty, you're not. Welcome back to the Smallville Retrospective, where we're on Season 2, Episode... Hold on, I'll figure it out. 8, 9? No, this is disc 4. 9, 12, 13! 13. Suspect. Excuse me. In this episode, Lionel Luthor is shot in an attempted murder, and Jonathan Kent is the prime suspect and goes to jail. But Clark is not so sure. He's like, wait a minute, my dad didn't do it. So he and reluctantly Pete have to figure out who did it with help from Lana and Chloe. So yeah, we start with this shot, and I forgot which one was next. I did all the title cards, the thumbnails yesterday, but I forgot which one was next. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, suspect. Okay, I like this one, and I did like this one. The ending is kind of, the reveal of who the killer is kind of meh, but then when they show like there's flashbacks in this episode. They show a flashback, and they give the motive why they did it. It actually makes a lot of sense and fixes my issue with that. So yeah, so we start with this shot of, it's raining, mommy, it's raining red, no, it's raining. Someone comes up behind Lionel Luthor. He utters the line which we see in every flashback. I thought we finish this or something like that, and he gets shot, falls over the banister with one of those, and you'll going forward, if you're watching this with me, you'll see that during Lionel Luthor scenes they play opera music, and there's a crescendoing when he falls over the side of the banister to his death. And instead of going from that to the opening credits, we actually go to it's raining outside, and a truck where Jonathan Kent is passed out, holding a bottle of booze and a gun in his other hand. And the sheriff finds him, and they arrest him for the murder. Then we get the opening credits. Jonathan is convinced it wasn't him. He explains where he was. He had a heated argument. He went to the Wild Coyote for a beer. And then he didn't remember what happened. With that explanation, obviously he was drugged. Next thing you know, he's got flashlights and guns waving at him. We do find out later, though, from Lana, that she went to return or bring in the receipts to Lex, and she overheard Jonathan have an argument with Lionel. Jonathan didn't mention it because he was ashamed of his actions and didn't, there's also evidence against him, but he kind of, unless they went to court. Martha brings up calling her father to be a lawyer, but he's like, no, he never believed me. Why would he believe me now? So then they suggest Henry Small. But Henry says no. And that's really sort of the B plot. We find out that he had a case against Luthor Corp, but that really isn't why. The reason why he won't do it is that he was basically one of those lawyers hired to do his job and not ask questions. And he proved that someone was guilty, but it turns out they were innocent, but then weren't proven innocent until 3 months after they were executed. So not wanting to go through that again, he says no, but Lana talks him into it, and so he is going to represent him. And, yeah. Clark has decided to start investigating stuff, even though he's not a policeman. So, I don't know if I just missed it, but so Clark mentions to Ethan, Sheriff Ethan, that there was a gun, that when they're investigating where they found his dad, they found a bullet in the side of one of the barns out there. I swear there was a scene where they go check it out and it's gone. Did I miss that? Or what? I swear there was a scene. I was also making lunch and having lunch at this point, so it could have been when I wasn't paying attention, doing stuff that I missed that. But anyway, I like how Clark just brings Pete along to do everything. Like, when they have to go check this out, he brings Pete. Pete drives everywhere, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be quicker if Clark just super sped to places? But, like, yeah, Clark. And why is Pete driving and Clark's not? Because they only have one truck now. Right? No, they don't. No, they don't. Never mind. Because I was like, oh yeah, because the truck got hurt, and then he had to take the other truck. That was a flashback in Lineage. But so anyway, yeah. So they go to the Wild Coyote, and the bartender's like, well, yeah, I can't serve minors. Like, no, I'm Clark Kent. I'm Jonathan Kent's son. And he's talking to him, and the guy is defending the fact that Jonathan got schnockered, and he, I'm gonna lose my liquor license for selling that whole bottle of booze and everything, and there's no doubt in my mind that he did it. And that's when Clark gets pissed and pushes him up against the thing, and Pete's like, Clark, come on, man. This is not how you do it, And as they're driving back, though, they're attacked by someone in a truck trying to kill them. And then, throughout the episode, though, we get other suspects that are just meant to be red herrings, so that it could be this guy, it could be this guy. We get the return of Dominic Santori, who just comes out of nowhere. And I remember back when Martha was hired, like, what happened to Dominic? Did he fire him after him being in the trunk? No, he's still there. Jason Connery, same guy. And I want to know, why the hell hasn't he been around? Right? We find out that Lionel and Lex had an argument because Dominic says that Lex is a suspect to Sheriff Ethan. And he says that they had an argument because Lionel bought out LexCorp, which I love how Lionel pronounces it LexCorp, but it, like, here as well as in the comics and other versions, it's LexCorp. But it's weird because he calls it LexCorp, but when he talks about Luthor Corp, he says Luthor Corp. So I don't know why he says it like that. But yeah, they get an argument, and and Lex gets mad and he walks off. But we do come back to this later, so I'll talk about it now. Lex walks back, and apparently Dominic also had a vested interest in the company, and because he wants to bring Lex back into the fold, Dominic's not so happy about that. That's kind of the flimsiest excuse, the flimsiest red herring that they have is that, and okay, they just want him to be a red herring. They didn't really think of a very good reason for him to do it, but yeah. Yes. So the suspects so far are Jonathan, Lex, and Dominic. None of the suspects. They decide that the bartender is lying, so they go back to talk to him. Or no, they find out that the bartender is missing. Which means that whoever it was that ran him off the road must have went back and done something. So, once again, Clark drags Pete all the way back to the bar to find him, and they find his dead body in a freezer with some frozen fish. To which, yes, we get the line from Pete, talk about sleeping with the fishes. Yes, find out that Lionel is close to waking up, right? This is where Clark finds a picture of the bartender and someone else we don't see and figures out who the killer is. Are you ready to find it out? Are you ready to know who it is? Now, before I get into the reveal, I want to talk about the choice here. It's an interesting choice that I was mixed on. I did remember. I've hinted at it. If I've hinted at it throughout my reviews of the first season and a half. So I've hinted at it. But I've always thought it was a weird decision to do this. It's clearly a way to write the character off because the actor was leaving the show. But for a character that has been such a long-standing ally to the Kents and a friend to Jonathan, I feel like it being Sheriff Ethan, is a little bit too much of, oh, we have to write this character off, just make him the killer. Where if I was writing it, Dominic would have been the killer because he makes the most sense. However, if it was Dominic, he would blame Lex, not Jonathan, which is why when I first watched this, I was like, no, it's not Lex, and it's not Dominic. Lex would not frame Jonathan because he's Clark's friend. He wouldn't do that. And if it was Dominic, he wouldn't frame Jonathan because it wouldn't. Now you're saying, but Ethan was Jonathan's friend. Yes, but Ethan wasn't thinking straight. He saw Jonathan as a patsy. Someone to play to some because Jonathan was in an angry state. He went to a bar yelling about how he hates Lionel Luthor, and they took advantage of it. Yeah. I do love this reveal, though, the way they do it. All right? You see the bed where Lionel Luthor's supposed to be. You see a gun come up with a silencer on it and shoot the bed, and then you see Clark grab the arm, and he says, Lex had Lionel moved a floor up. I had to make sure that who it was, but I was hoping I was wrong. And then the camera pans up to reveal Ethan. And he throws Ethan down, and even what the hell? Like, you were best friends with my father, how could you do this? And it is revealed later, but Ethan breaks down. Here's the thing, you don't have him completely evil and being maniacal or anything. He breaks down, and he starts crying, and he, because he realizes, he's like, what have I done? What have I done? It's well done by the actor who has done nothing but just be a cop and come to, sorry, Jonathan, we have to do this. Sorry, we have to do this, and just kind of be there. The new sheriff will have a more profound performance in later episodes and seasons, but not particularly fond of her. But, and, so everything's going to be fine. Clark and Lex are going to be fine. They have an argument. I do like that this does cause friction because Lex is talking to Sheriff Ethan earlier on in the episode, and Clark comes up, and Lex is like, if you'll excuse me, and he leaves, and they kind of give each other a look. And then after, Clark is there when Dominic tells the sheriff the story with, what happened, and so he goes to talk to Lex. Why didn't you tell him you had an argument with your dad? And he explains it, whatever, and they have a bit of an argument. But they both understand that Jonathan didn't do it. It's just, And then later after the attack, he's like, I had to be sure that your dad didn't do it. So I had to wait for the guilty party to make a mistake. Like running Pete and me off the road? I had to be sure, I wouldn't be like, besides, it's you, Clark. No one's killing you, right? But no, anyway, yeah. So, in our ending scene here, Lex goes to see his father. So, I want to point out, people were saying that when Lionel wakes up, he could point out his killer, and I'm like, no, he's blind. And then when they go, they're like, oh, he's close to waking up, he could identify his killer. And Henry says, well, I highly doubt it due to his blindness. And I'm like, yes, of course, somebody finally says it. Like, because I don't think it would work that way. Because the way he's talking, I would assume he thought it was Jonathan. Because Jonathan, I think, was the last person to come in there and have an argument with him. Because I think it went, Lex has a conversation with Lionel, has the argument, storms off, comes back. Here's Dominic, has the argument with him. He takes off. Lex retrieves his keys. I do like that, though. He comes back when Dominic goes to leave. He sees him, and he's like, forgot my keys. And then they both leave. Then Lana comes in to return the receipts and overhears Jonathan, who has come in before her, I guess. And then storms off. Lionel never knew that Lana was there because she quietly returned the receipts. So in his mind, Jonathan was the last person there. So even if they were depending on him to give a suspect, he would point out Jonathan because that's the last person he had an argument with. Now, this does also point to the question whether or not he was blind here or not, because even if he's not blind here, he would still have to point out Jonathan because it would make the most sense being he was the last one there. So to cover his own ass, he would still have to go towards the framing of Jonathan. Because if he revealed who it actually was, the sheriff, then that would mean that he saw him. You know? Because, like, he could say something like, well, I really don't know. I assumed it was Jonathan. He was the last one there. But it could have been anybody, you know. Now, we do find out what happened with the sheriff. It turns out the sheriff was also involved with the taking over of LexCorp, as he bribed the sheriff to get all the files of the LexCorp employees that were part of that coup to blackmail them into selling the LexCorp shares to him. And when Lionel implied that he wanted to keep this relationship going with the sheriff got pissed. And this is what spurred him to do this. So, yeah. This is the scene that I went, oh, okay, I'm back on board with Ethan. I see why he would do it. Anger. Sometimes when you are get angry enough, you don't see straight. It gets you in a way where you do things that you wouldn't normally do. Anger motivates you to do things. So does alcohol. But you wouldn't normally do. That's a whole different thing with alcohol. But, you know. And so he's seeing red. That's all he's seeing. And he didn't think of right or wrong. So, yeah. But like I said, this was mostly only to get rid of the actor so that, because he was leaving the show, I think. But it's still a great episode. I'm going to give it 4 Superman logos out of 5. I think it's pretty good. Probably one of the best of the season. And a season that is, so far, been kind of meh. There's some decent ones. There's some decent episodes, but nothing that will stand out like in seasons 3 and 4 to me anyway. But season 3 and 4 for me are the highlight of this series. Season 1 was good. Season 3 and 4 are the highlights of this series. A lot more happens and stuff, so I can't wait to get to those. But, well, towards the end of this season 2, we get some stuff that happens. But, yes. So, what are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know in the comments. Don't make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.